Hey everyone, welcome back to this episode of Maven Money Talks, and we have a special event for you today. We are doing an interview with the founder of Maven Group, Paolo Quiroga, for the Meet Your Maven this week.
Yeah.
Paolo, thanks for coming in today.
Hey, thanks for switching seats.
Yeah, so if you've seen a lot of the Maven Money Talks previously, Paolo is typically the interviewer, so we're turning the tables on him today. So
excited. Let's have fun.
Let's do it. So for starters, let's start at the beginning. So where are you from? What was it like growing up there?
Yeah, I'll start by answering one of the most common questions I get, which is, where's your name from? So Paolo Quiroga, I mean, I feel like it should be obvious. Like, I was born and raised in Kansas. And so that really confuses people. But yeah, born and raised in Kansas. Paolo is Italian. I have no Italian background or heritage. My family just really liked the name. Quiroga is Bolivian in South America. So my father's from Bolivia. The one other Bolivian he knew was in Kansas, and that's what brought him to Kansas, where he met my mom, and my mom's whole family is from there.
Makes sense.
Like I said, born and raised there in Overland Park, and grew up as a Royals fan, a Chiefs fan, and all of that has started to pay off here more recently, with some World Series wins and some Super Bowl championships. So yeah.
Cool. And then growing up in Kansas, what was that like? What did you do as a kid? What were your hobbies, interests, that kind of stuff?
So Kansas, you get all 4 seasons. So, that was one of the nice things growing up there, is you get to experience everything from just really cold weather and from time to time, and then really hot and humid in the summers. But in terms of activities, it was really anything outdoors. So I grew up playing soccer, played competitive pretty much my entire life, but enjoyed mountain biking. Surprisingly, I learned how to snowboard in Kansas. So there was one hill that we would go to, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, anything outdoors and active has always been a part of my life. So.
Yeah, you're the first person I've ever heard that learned to snowboard in Kansas. Historically flat.
Historically flat, yep.
Cool. And then where'd you end up going to school?
So went to school, University of Kansas, so Rock Chalk Jayhawk, and studied economics there. And then after school, I ended up accepting a job in San Francisco working for an investment firm out there. It was at the time the country's largest registered investment advisor. So that's what brought me out to the West Coast.
Cool. And then what was that shift like going from Kansas to California?
Yeah, so
it was pretty different.
It was very different. Just thinking San Francisco's in California, it's got to be awesome. I guess I'm picturing Southern California. But after living in San Francisco I think I was there for a year and a half, just a little over, it really goes along with that famous Mark Twain saying, where my coldest winter was a summer in San Francisco. And so loved living there, loved the city. And I moved out there in 2007. And so it was just a phenomenal time to be out there, and a great big change from Kansas. So. And
then how did that first job after cruising to California affect your career path going forward?
Yeah, so I started in 2007, like I said, and I'm going to rewind a little bit. And what got me going into the investment industry was back in, I think it was 3rd or 4th grade, we had a project where we put together our own little portfolio. And that really got me interested in investing. And so I knew very early on that I wanted to, have a career in finance. And so started working for that investment firm straight out of school. And again, 2007, 2008, if you can rewind, that was the beginning of the Great Recession. And so that experience, I think really scarred me a little bit, because we had one of the largest drawdowns that we've seen. And it was just the beginning of my career. And so after that job, I thought, I really don't want to be in this industry at all. I moved down to Southern California and started consulting with small businesses and working in a number of different aspects with, their benefits, payroll, anything human capital related. And after being in that position, having a lot of communication with a lot more people, business owners specifically, understanding that, from an investment perspective, people really don't know as much as they should to make really good decisions. So I was After, again, going through that challenging market environment, thinking, gosh, this is a tough industry, I realized that people don't have enough education. We can't control the markets. We can only control how we react to the markets, and how well we're prepared to ride out difficult times. We're going to see them inevitably. And that's what made me realize I need to go back into that industry and help serving a niche that I know needs more help. And that's, what led me to get back into the investment world and become a financial advisor.
Yeah, and I love the story of how you started liking finance to begin with in 3rd or 4th grade. Yeah. I feel like people underestimate how impactful some of those projects are, like in your early life, where it can really set you off on a trajectory for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And then I also like the commentary of like kind of alluding to, you don't know what you don't know. You know what I mean? And people just really need the support and people that are professionals in the field to tap into, because there's a lot of things that I don't know how to do because I just don't know how to do them. So a lot of people, if they don't have the guidance on the financial side, it's great to have someone on their team.
Well, if you think about it, most people are only going to experience retirement once, right? That's a goal. You only have to retire once. Business owners, they may only sell their company once. Cool. So you don't want to experiment with these, one-time events. You want somebody who's been through it with other business owners, who's been through it with other retirees, and we know what to look out for 10, 15 years down the road because we have clients that are in that position right now. So I think that's one of the biggest pieces that advisors bring to the table, is providing that guidance and foresight to be able to help shed some light on things that maybe you never thought about and considered that you need to think about.
Yep.
So
yeah, no, I totally agree. And then so you were at another investment firm, and then you went out of the field for a little bit and then got back into it. So what did that look like for you, just in your mind, transitioning from working for a firm to starting your own firm?
Yeah, so getting back into the industry, because I had been in the industry already, I knew what was out there, what capabilities there were, what options there were. And at the firm I was with, it was a great place to start building a client base. And but ultimately, for my focus, and again, niche in serving business owners, we didn't have the tools that we really needed to provide all the capabilities that business owners need. And so that's what led me to start Maven Group. And originally it was, start my own company so I can serve my own clients. But obviously there was a much bigger vision. And so I didn't want to just go out on my own and have, a 1-2 advisor office. We really want to grow and impact people's lives by having them work with advisors who focus on their niche. So that way, again, we can be ahead of the curve in providing insight to clients on, whatever kind of career path or background they come from.
Yep. And so how did that all plug in? I'm sure that was kind of like the infancy stages of kind of your vision of what you were looking for to start your own firm. Like, what did that kind of like grow into for your mission and your vision for the firm?
Yeah, so that's where Maven comes from. So Maven is a specialist in a particular field who seeks to pass timely and relevant knowledge on to others. And so that's literally what the company is named after. And within the industry, you see a lot of generalists, and this is across the board, but when someone who has a specialty, they know, again, what their clients know before their clients know it. And so my vision for Maven is that we have advisors who have a real clear focus on the types of clients they want to service. And you have really expert advisors within their field. So that's what we ideally want to grow, advisors who maybe they're the best kept secret in their neighborhood or in their niche. We want to help them expand their business by creating more tailored marketing geared towards their target clients. And again, be known as a firm where, hey, if I need an advisor who specializes in this, Maven has those advisors.
Perfect. And so, it's been a number of years since you started the firm. I'm sure it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows since you first started. Yeah. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced with starting the firm?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges also ends up being one of the biggest opportunities. One of the challenges is that when starting your own firm, you have access to anything and everything that's out there in terms of technology, resources, investment options. So one of the challenges was getting to know what is out there. And so when we started the company, we stuck with what we knew and slowly started to expand our horizons, do our own diligence on, hey, are these appropriate for our clients, or who are these appropriate for different investments, and just different services that are available. So again, the challenge was going through and learning about them and doing our diligence to make sure that they're a good fit for our clients. But then that also becomes one of our biggest opportunities, because we have such a vast array of options to make sure that, hey, if you're selling a business, how can we make sure that we're, being able to be conscious of taxes in that transaction, and what resources do we have access to be able to maybe cover some of those taxes without necessarily selling a bunch of investments. So again, just a lot of different options that we have that our clients benefit from.
Yeah, and I'm sure when you're starting from scratch, you're trying to find your identity, trying to build your brand, all that kind of stuff. So that, there's a lot of lift.
There's a lot of pieces that go into it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I think that's also one of the reasons why I work so well with business clients, is because I'm in those shoes. We're going through the exact same thing. I know what business owners are feeling from a tax perspective, from a hiring perspective, from a growth perspective. We're there. And so we can provide guidance on what's worked well for us, what's worked well for clients. And that just gives us a big boost in providing that insight. Yeah.
And then, so on the flip side of that, I'm sure there were some really great things that happened throughout the process. So you can hide some of the cool milestones or breakthroughs that you've had.
Yeah. So from going out on our own and starting Maven, that was back in 2019. So we just celebrated our 5-year. But immediately after that, COVID hit. And one of the most successful things and something that I had a lot of fun with was, as soon as COVID hit, we had the ability to do a lot more social media interaction that we didn't have access to before. And so I was doing live updates 3 times a week throughout COVID, and just providing people with updates. And we still do that today based on market fluctuations, providing some guidance on, hey, what's relevant to being invested for the long term as opposed to what you're hearing about on the news, So that's been one of the most exciting things, is being able to interact with people more efficiently through technology that we have access to, and just leveraging our reach, which is part of doing this podcast too. So
yeah, great opportunity to put a face to a name and kind of build a brand before maybe you even meet somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then now that COVID's done, and you're expanding the business and doing all these different, pulling all these different levers to kind of differentiate yourself. How do you continue to grow personally to make sure you're staying a thought leader and a leader in the industry?
Yeah, a few ways. One, I'm a part of a group, a Vistage group, where it's a number of business owners, CEOs that get together once a month and talk about what's happening within their industry, what's happening with their businesses. And so we meet once a month to stay connected and hear about the challenges or the opportunities that everybody's dealing with, how they're approaching them, and which has been phenomenal. That's really been a huge benefit to my business. But on top of that, attending conferences, there's a ton of conferences for our industry that help provide more of an outlook on what's coming around the corner in terms of what we should be aware of. Our back office has a great amount of resources for us, but also I just enjoy reading. I really love our industry. Any investment book that I can get my hands on, any business book, I'm reading it. And what's funny is, as a kid, I did not read at all. I did not enjoy reading. And now I love reading, but mainly I'm reading business books, investment books, self-improvement books, things like that. But I mean, that's something that I never thought I would be into, but I think it was more of the material that I enjoy. So
yeah, and you're a big podcast guy.
Enjoy podcasts, love listening to them. Again, yeah. So
yeah,
any way I can get my hands, my mind filled with more information, I'm looking for that. So
yeah, and I think that we live in it day to day. Other people might not have time to listen to those podcasts, so we can kind of parse out the information that's important in the podcast, the books, and then apply that to our clients, which I think is really important.
Definitely.
And then what advice? I mean, you've kind of run through whether it was you coming and starting initially in California with an investment firm. taking a break doing business consulting and then being with a larger national firm and then starting your own firm. What advice would you give to somebody who was maybe looking to start a career in finance or kind of break into any piece of the industry that you've taken part in?
Yeah, I think reading some investment books, there's some great investment books, is a great way to get started to understand the industry. But getting started to actually get a job, I started with an internship at a small advisor office in Lawrence, Kansas, and I did that in college. So looking for internships. Part of when you get started at the very beginning stages is sales. And so if you are proactively reaching out and doing an extra step outside of just applying for a job, but sending a LinkedIn message or making a phone call or dropping by, that's going to go a long way in this industry. So putting yourself out there and just taking that extra step, I can tell you, I get LinkedIn messages from college students. I'm 100% replying to them, trying to help them as much as I can. So go the extra step outside of what everybody else is doing and just hitting the apply button, but make a follow-up call, try and find an email address, differentiate yourself in those ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's what you're going to be doing as an advisor anyway. It's a big part of marketing ourselves and stuff like that. So you might as well start doing it out of the gate as early as possible. And then kind of along with that, give me one or two key lessons that you've learned throughout your process, or like key takeaways from your experience so far in industry.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest takeaways is just really taking the time to understand what clients' true goals are, and making sure that everybody's on the same page of what the path looks like. And I always tell every single client that before we make any investments, before we even open an account and transfer funds over, I want to make sure that they're comfortable and confident with the investment, with the plan, with our team, because ultimately the more that people understand and the more comfortable they are with that path, the better results we're going to have, because you can stick to that
framework or strategy.
Strategy. Yeah. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is just making sure that everybody's open and taking the time to really understand one another.
Yeah, but in order for people to be open with you, I feel like the cornerstone of that is probably trust.
Yeah, obviously, our goal is to make sure that everybody knows that we're looking out for them and what's in their best interest. And so earning trust is the most important piece right from the get-go, so we can have a clear understanding of what they have working for them, what their goals are, and what they're comfortable with and not comfortable with. So that way we can make sure that we are implementing the right strategy for them.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people think about advisors and like, oh, you must do a lot of math. There's going to be numbers involved. It's like, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a numbers component, right? There's always going to be like a marketing yourself component when you're running a business. But at the core of it, I feel like the cornerstone of the business is being trustworthy and making sure that you take care of people.
Absolutely.
So I totally agree. All right, so we learned a little bit about your way back in Kansas.
Yeah.
So since you've been in California and you kind of put your roots down in Southern California, what do you like to do now?
Yeah. Well, I love doing anything outdoors still. Southern California is a little bit better climate for that. So that's one thing we love doing. I met my wife out here, and we've been married for 12 years now. We actually just celebrated our 12-year anniversary here recently. And we've got 3 beautiful kids. Olivia, who is going to be 9 here very soon. Jordy, who is almost 5. And then Luca, who is going to be 2 soon. So we have our hands full the majority of the time. We're very, very active kids, but we love to get out to the beach as often as we can. We like to we've got an RV, so we'll like to do short little trips within the RV. We have a house in Lake Arrowhead, so we get up there from time to time to enjoy just some hikes and just being outdoors in the fresh air in the mountains. So soon we have soccer starting for the kids, for the 2 older ones. So our weekends are now going to be absorbed with soccer games and practices during the week, which I'm really excited about. So I've already started doing soccer practice with them, and so we're getting out for that. But with the family, I mean, a lot of it is just trying to enjoy the kids while they're small. I think one of the biggest benefits of our role as advisors is we work with people at every stage of life. And for those that are grandparents, or even those that are 10, 15 years older than us that have kids in college, I get the same advice from everyone, which is enjoy them while they're small. And so my wife and I are trying to do that as often as possible with, small family trips, and just kind of live in the moment and enjoy the moment. And that's honestly a lot of what we try to do as well with our clients, is finding the right balance of where you're at in life in terms of growing your career, growing, with your kids, and enjoying the ride. So balancing life. And that's one, again, big thing that we're trying to focus on from a financial planning perspective, is financial planning tends to look so far down the road that sometimes it's hard to really make it as much of a priority. But we want to start working with clients, and how do we obviously prepare for the future, but how do we enjoy now and create that balance? And it's something that you have to make a priority, because again, time is the only thing that we can't create more of. So how do we maximize it?
Yeah, and I think you and I talk a lot about kind of changing our narrative and our identity from financial planning to lifestyle planning, and I feel like that kind of line of communication plugs right into that, where it's like, hey, planning for the future is obviously very, very important, but we still want to enjoy what we're doing now. So.
Active planning for the active lifestyle. And that means that we're not going to sit down with you once and put a plan together and then it's done. It's something where we're going through, and because we're looking at short-term events and long-term events, we're going to need to sit down and revisit what you're working on, how that's going. Life events are going to happen, job changes. So again, we want to be there every step along the way and make sure that we're just providing people with the right guidance and options that people are aware of. So, yeah. And then I know it's hard to have spare time for yourself when you've got 3 active kids and running a business, all that kind of stuff. But what do you do for fun outside of that? I know you have to travel a little bit. Travel as often as we can, which is tough with 3 small kids, but we just got back from Europe and we enjoyed that trip. I love working out, so I like to wake up early, get in a run, a little workout. Again, mountain biking is something that I really enjoy doing, playing soccer with the kids. So really anything active that can get me to break a sweat. It makes me feel good, and ultimately it gives me more energy throughout the day. And it's just, keeps me going.
Scott, for the most part, do you have any final thoughts, messages, or anything for the listeners?
No, I think I hope that you found, today helpful to get to know me a little bit better. There are a few things that we've got kind of working down in the pipeline, and so we're going to have more podcasts coming out. We have some things that we're coming out with that are specific to doctors that are transitioning from working for a hospital to starting their own independent private practice. So we'll have some good stuff there. But no, really would enjoy for people to reach out and ask any questions. We want to make sure we're a resource and a valuable resource to anybody in the community. So I hope we hear from more people and get to connect with more people, and that's it.
Yeah, awesome. And then, so they've probably heard on prior podcasts, but if someone had a question for us or wanted to reach out, what's the best way for them to get hold of us?
Yeah, we've got our email right here. We'll put it up in the podcast, and then we're also on social media, so you can find us on Facebook or LinkedIn, where we post a lot of content on a weekly basis as well. And we'll also put live videos up when we have more market volatility. So if you follow us there, then you'll get those up-to-date notices. Yeah, timely info. We do a lot of stuff on social media, so there's always something that will be timely relevant for whatever's going on right now. So perfect. All right, anything else? I think we're good. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us this week. Thank you. And we'll see you next time on Maven Money Talks. Yeah. All right, take care. All right, bye.